Hi, Dr. Erika Way with Beyond Wellness. Today I have the absolute pleasure of joining in conversation with Sharon Crowley from the Ohm Center. Sharon brought the Harmonic Egg to the Twin Cities, and I am so grateful she did, to the point where we've included one in our clinic here at Beyond Wellness. So we want to help everyone understand and get to know the beauty and the magic of the harmonic egg. So today we start. So Sharon, I'd like to ask you a little bit about why you were drawn to the harmonic egg in the first place.
Oh, well, for many, many years, I was on the hunt for anything that was natural, which was an alternative. I was certified in Ayurvedic healing, and as I was rolling up that certification and really trying to figure out how I would be applying it in my life and helping others, I discovered a video with Gail Lynn, the inventor, and it answered so many questions and theories that I had had for years about healing. You know, I'd been through my own healing journey. I had helped my folks get through theirs, my brother, and everybody experienced their illness or disease in individual ways. There was no one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a lot of theories about, is it personality, is it thought, how are you affected when you're going through chronic illness or facing some major challenges physically.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw this interview, I was struck by it's all right there. It's ancient. It's always been known. It's just not something that we've been exposed to. And the chamber itself is a place where people are able to get in touch with themselves. They're able to get back to feeling like themselves. And for so many years, when you're experiencing so much in this life, we get away from that and start to wonder, am I ever going to feel like my healthy, happy self? And the egg offered that, and I became obsessed. And so I wanted it here in the Twin Cities. I wanted it in my life, and I wanted to share it with other people.
Well, I knew that that's why I fell in love with you the first time I met you, because of your passion.
Well, and that is something that I saw in you, and I think we're very much aligned in the fact that there's always an answer. We just have to keep digging.
We just have to keep digging.
Yeah.
And, you know, one of the things that has really driven my passion and draws me to the harmonic egg and that experience is a concept I learned from my spiritual mentor, that we are all divine spiritual beings having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, from my experience, I see that disease or dis-ease comes from spending so much time worrying about what other people think and are other people okay, and we spend little time focusing on us. And
Right.
and as a matter of fact, we're taught that that's selfish and maybe that's bad.
Yeah.
But we are the only people that we are never going to leave or lose. And so how can we step into this new age of health and wellness and longevity,
Mm-hmm.
and do this from a position of, how do I create a healthy spiritual being for me, for my body, so I can raise my vibration, so then I can be in service to others. So that is kind of what I thought we could talk about today, is really your experience with the egg and how that fits in, and I can share how my personal experience, and certainly many of my patients, how they've benefited. But I would love to really talk about starting with the I am, and how you approach that when people come to see you.
Well, big question.
It's a big question. You can take a little bite. We'll start anywhere you feel comfortable.
Well, when people do come in, we always start with an intake form, and I try to get to know people on a level of where are your physical symptoms? Do you have traumatic life events? Where are your thoughts? Do you have good days? Do you have bad days? What would you quantify? So we try to take the whole being into consideration, and that's where the Ayurvedic perspective helps me, because I am able to ascertain if you were in a healthy, balanced state, what would that look like? And those areas where you're not healthy or balanced, how can I do something about that through the music, through the frequency, through the light that's used in the egg. And for folks that are coming in, it's an experience where you get to sit in an environment where you're just with your own energy and you're able to breathe. It's very similar to a meditation, but it's really amplified. And so when we start asking the questions, what is my intention for healing? Many folks, it hasn't really occurred to us, oh, well, what is my intention? What am I walking through life with? And so just asking the question of oneself, many times I will ask that question, what is your intention for this session? If you could feel in whatever wonderful way when you walk out of here a certain way, what is that way? What is that place that we're looking for? And I think we go through life really doing our best, and many of us have been taught, as you said, to consider everybody else's needs, and whatever is left over is for us. And the idea that we have to look inside ourselves and say, well, if I was going to fill up my cup, or I was going to heal something, if I become this, person with all my potential and my health and my wellness, I could serve all the people that I wish to serve and show up in a way for myself as well as other people that we're actually inspiring others to get healthy. And so sometimes spiritual buzzword ends up making people like, well, what do I do with that? How does that play into my health? How does that play into my well-being? And so I use the term, whether it's emotional, whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical, I believe it's all connected. And many times after I got my egg, kept finding myself in an egg session still dealing with grief. And I had no idea that I was carrying around all of this grief after having lost a lot of loved ones and life and whatnot. So it's this thing where when you start assessing your own needs and where am I at, we have so many blockages about what we might need because we invest so much in the outside world and the people that we love. And there's rarely enough to go around, especially when we're unbalanced.
Well, and I feel like we're coming into a little bit of a new age in that, many of our parents didn't know this either. So it's not like we could learn that from them. I know we learned many things from our parents, and each little bit then helps the next generation. And really, I think what we're seeing here with the egg and combining that with functional medicine or anything is other optimal health strategies is that we can start being empowered with our own health, that we can heal ancestral traumas and we can end ancestral patterns.
Right.
And if we try and do that from a health perspective, for example, if we have an ancestral pattern of heart attacks, can we learn something about ourselves that prevents us from getting heart attacks and not expressing those genes? 100%. So they're stopping the ancestral pattern. Is there depression or anxiety, so like emotional tendencies in an ancestry, and then we could learn that maybe we don't methylate very well, or we have a food sensitivity that causes brain inflammation that can be set up for that, basic and simple. But when it comes to the spiritual and when it comes to the energetic, I think, people can be like a deer in headlights, like, is that going against a religious belief that I have, or is it, am I worthy of that? Am I, all of these things. And so my personal experience with the egg was not a physical symptom, and it wasn't, it was more emotional, spiritual, in that I'd been conflicted around a relationship that I just couldn't budge on. I was really stuck. And I went in the egg, because I was told to. I was referred to it, and I went with an open mind, and I came out of that egg session. It was crazy. I saw my mother in there, I saw my grandmother, I saw the whole female ancestry on my mother's side coming into support. And that's not everyone's experience, for sure, but I do see. And so when I left there, I left with 3 solutions to a problem I'd been working on for 3 years. And so, then when I brought my family in, because I was so excited, you know how that is. We want our kids to know it. We want our husbands to know about it. Sometimes we get the little rolling eyes. But when you started talking about like physical symptoms and nervous system, I'm like, oh, is that part of it too? So what I loved about the egg, and what I still do, is how it meets everyone
right
where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. And to go back a little bit in this spiritual connection, whether it be spiritual, emotional, physical, I would like to break down the part about the egg that I was so drawn to. So on a physical level, the chamber itself is made out of wood.
Okay.
It's in the shape of a dodecagon. And the music is full wave format music, so it comes in, it's almost like it's live. So you get every tone, every note, every instrument, all relating to different areas with the chakra system, with the organs. And the music comes in, meets you where you're at, but you are contained in this environment where the hertz and frequency level starts raising you gently. So there's no being forced. There's not me deciding what you need. It happens naturally, and frequency that is in a high frequency as it's rolling upwards breaks up low density, low frequency. So if we're just talking about the physical idea of this, our cells start vibrating at a high frequency, and that is when they release the toxin, whether it's emotional, environmental, whether it's an old pattern in the DNA, whether it's old thoughts that actually aren't real, it's just something we believed, or maybe it's a physical impact that was also imprinted with an emotional traumatic impact. Those things start to break up. And so I don't know if you experience this, because many people do have that intuitive ability to connect in, because you're just in this environment that is providing that space and the frequency to get up to a higher brain state, to get up to your higher self without the low density or low vibration. And that is why people start to feel like themselves, get back to that place.
Right. Well, I've heard from my patients who have tried the egg at my request, my advice, and they experienced an intuition or a knowing or a seeing that they weren't aware that they could do. And so they questioned it, of course, which is always our first, like, am I really seeing that?
Well, it's really fun. That's
and it's
the fun
really
part.
fun. It's really fun, because again, if we are, which I believe, divine spiritual beings having a human experience, we have these gifts. We were born with them, and we can go on a journey to rediscover them. And when we come in to experience what we're not, right? Shame, in pain, depressed, that we come here to experience those things so we can remember that we are divine spiritual beings.
Wow. Yes, and also understanding we have the power of transformation, and it comes from within. It comes from the way we think, what we believe, how we operate in this world, how we interact. And once you get in touch with that, it's my feeling that it's difficult to deny. And do I understand all of it? No, I'm in this constant quest to understand it. But I'm so enjoying when things happen that I can't mentally, ego, thinking brain may have an explanation for that isn't spiritual.
Well, and that is, I think, the key to surrender. And if we even
Right.
think about the transits going on right now, I know a little bit about astrology, maybe enough to be dangerous, but I do know that that the North Node is transiting through Pisces. We're being asked to trust. We're being asked to surrender, and sometimes the biggest problem is us, right? I mean, we're not going to point any fingers, but right.
Yeah.
So if we can gently move through an energetic,
Yeah.
and it sounds like from your experience that the egg will again meet you where you're at if your detox needs to be physical,
Right?
or if it needs to be emotional, or if it needs to be spiritual.
Mhm.
I've gone through a couple boxes of Kleenex in the egg myself. So, so I love that. What would you say about people who you've worked with
Mhm.
that might be combining strategies? So,
Mhm.
for example, I know the patients I send,
Yeah.
they're detoxing, or we've done some quantum neural reset therapy, which is
Absolutely.
that subconscious emotional reset. Um, and and then sometimes we'll do the hyperbaric oxygen chamber where you get the brain so pumped with oxygen and go into the egg, it's almost like it amplifies. So
Absolutely.
can talk to me about your experience with using a couple of different strategies. Do you recommend that? Do you find that
Oh,
helpful?
I absolutely recommend it. That's where I really see, like as you said, it's an amplification. Um, many times we will have a breakthrough,
Mhm.
whether it be through an adjustment, whether it be through a QNRT session, whether it be through just an egg session, whatever the thing is, you may just get that tip, or you pull that big piece, and you're so excited about it. But inevitably, there's more to be done. And whether you are setting yourself up with the egg so that your nervous system is in this place to do the other, whether it's to do the chiropractic readjustment or to go into the QNRT session. So utilizing it beforehand
Mhm.
puts your nervous system in a place of really being able to integrate and maximize the other things that you're doing. And then if you do it in reverse, we've also found wonderful benefits with doing the egg post, so that it helps you integrate, it helps you detox in a way that is gentle and in a way that's more effective. And so that, I like to call it stacking. And I will also say that there are many times where you don't want to do things right on top of each other, because you want to allow the healing opportunity in each of those things to really take effect and integrate. However, doing them close together,
Mhm.
or in moderation together.
Mhm.
And there are those people that really can handle a lot. But again, I would explain that with the doshic Ayurvedic perspective, which there are those people that actually need a little bit more exercise, hardcore, cardio, for instance.
Right.
Where those other people may not do as well as something like that and prefer yoga, because that gets them into a state of being that's similar for those that really do the cardio. So taking the individualized approach with how we maximize this has, I think, been something we've really enjoyed, is
Yes.
getting to address the individual
Mhm.
and whatever they need, and then being able to customize and communicate
Mhm.
and be able to suggest, hey, this is what we think is going to work best. And a lot of it is based on the successes that we've had,
For sure.
which has just been such a joy.
Such a personal successes, and then
Right,
also
right.
certainly with our clients and patients. I love the word maximize, because in one of the personality profiles that I've taken, I learned that I was a maximizer. I'm like, oh my gosh, that explains so much. And I find that when people come in and they've tried a lot of things, they'll come to a functional medicine chiropractor, QNRT practitioner, probably not first, right? So they've tried a lot of things,
Right.
and they might say, oh, I tried going off gluten for a week and it didn't really work, and I took vitamin C, but my cold didn't get better. And so I get kind of super excited with when I'm talking to my patients, because I'm like, oh my God, okay, so now let's get down to it. What if, and in a structured, safe, and individually applicable pace,
Right.
we combined
Yeah.
a couple of things all at one time, and then bringing in the egg and bringing in hyperbaric or functional testing to see, where can we really pinpoint strengths and weaknesses emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and then put you on this trajectory
Right.
for really, I would say, ascension, right? Becoming divine spiritual beings in human form,
Yeah.
kind of my goal. Anyway,
Well, and how many times when we've been working with people together, how many times do you find that after folks have used these things together in combination, I certainly find that I will ask questions about, well, how is this symptom that you previously had doing? How is this doing? And many times the response is, oh, I forgot that was even an issue, because it actually leaves their consciousness.
it does. And people are like, well, I never felt that bad. I'm like, we needed to take pictures, right?
Right.
But I have a wonderful story of a patient who came in with a lot of anger issues, a lot of chronic pain, and in an unhappy relationship. And we just started doing a little functional medicine, some nutrition tweaks, some adjusting for sure, and some energy work, clearing kind of ancestral patterns. And then he stepped into hyperbaric oxygen. And through a process of, I would say, probably 9 months over time, completely transformed. And during that time, I asked him to go to the egg because he felt ready to go on to that next level.
Yeah, let go.
So let go.
Process and let it go.
And let it go instead of, I think we all come in at some level of holding on to a story,
Oh,
right?
for sure.
We all do it. It's what happened to me, or I define myself by my past, and I can tell you, like I tell my patients, okay, it got you right here, right where you need to be. Do you still need it?
Right.
And I would suggest that you don't. But then comes the trick, right?
Right.
How do you let it go? I've tried, I've done this, I've done that, and that's where I find so much value in the egg, because you don't have to know,
Nope.
right?
Don't
You can
have
let
to
go
know.
and let God, you can trust, you can surrender, and set the intention. If you can just step into your own personal power, right? You are the only person you are never going to leave or lose. You came here as a divine spiritual being, having this human experience so that you could then transcend the issues and patterns so that you could move through that. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Now, we all know people who maybe they came here in this lifetime not to experience that. And that's okay. We don't judge them.
No.
We love them.
No.
But we don't have to define ourselves by what they were willing to do or not willing to do.
Right.
We can, as we've heard many, many times, be the change that we wish to see in the world. That is completely within the realm of possibility.
Well, and I think it's the only thing we actually have control of is the way we view ourselves in this world, the way we view our health and well-being and our value. And I think a lot of us grew up thinking that was external and that was defined externally, as opposed to what's going on in here. And the freedom, I think, that happens for me and my clients, hopefully yours too, in the egg, is that when it starts to come up, it's not a re-injuring, it's an awareness. And I had, how many times have I had people say, I had no idea that this was in here and it's no longer true for me and I don't need it anymore. And I'm so happy to be free of it. But if we are in a place where we are in constant fight or flight, and we are bumping up against our nervous system no matter how often we are doing good things for ourselves. There's an importance there to be kind and gentle and ask ourselves, what do I need? Do I wish to heal?
Mm-hmm.
What can I let go of?
Right.
And you know, many times it does involve the things we're doing, the things we're eating.
Oh, for sure.
There's all this personal accountability that we have to go through, which, I mean, there was a lot of things I didn't want to give up,
Oh.
you know? And there's many things where I'll give it up and then I'll think, nope, I deserve this, which is an old program.
Old programs.
But we all do it because we are human.
We are human,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah.
Yeah, it just feels so good to feel good that you get inspired about what else can I do.
And we don't remember that
Right.
we can feel so good. And that's all of us, right?
Yeah.
No one's sitting here saying we've got the answer to everything and we do it perfectly, because there is no such thing as perfection, and it's within the imperfection that I think we find peace, and I think we find self-love. And there's more than one way,
Yes.
and there's more than one doorway,
Yes.
and there's more than one way to time it. And so, you know, when I started this year with the clinic and what I wanted to, really what was my message, it is about personalized medicine or personalized healthcare, because no one's the same. No one's had
Nope.
the same experience.
That's right.
The one thing that is similar is that we are divine spiritual beings. So that's where we are all the same, but our journeys are different. Our teachers are different. Our lesson givers are different. And holding a space of love and knowing, like I do every day, that you were born perfect, right? You were born as a divine spiritual being. You were born. You weren't born with depression and anxiety and trauma.
Right.
Now, some might argue, and let's be fair, right? We can have it passed down and genetically, and we're learning more
Sure.
about that. But you get the general meaning is that we're the only people we're never going to leave or lose,
Yeah.
and it starts with us. And I think the most exciting part about it is how can our journey inspire just maybe even one other person, right? And that, you know, if we can be empowered with our health, and if we can be that kind of a role model, we can really exponentially help raise the vibration of the planet by just working on ourselves.
Right. Well, and I think that that's the real model. I think really finding the love of self and filling up our own heart and dropping the resentment, anger, fear, all of those low vibrational energies really helps us step into the power and then, you know, emanate, radiate, share our hearts without giving up ourselves or a piece of ourselves to fuel somebody else's perceived well-being. I know that's a lot of gobbledygook, but many people that come in are looking for the ability to just be in their own energy and their own thought space and feel good.
And feel good.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we get to do this together. And even going back to that, doing different modalities at different times, I think when people listen to themselves and what is intuitively guiding them, but what do I need right now? That's when all of these wonderful things come into play. And even the person that you were referencing before that was doing each of the things, at each turning point, it was like, okay, we're going to move you on to this next thing. I think this is what you're ready for and what you need.
It is all in the timing. As a matter of fact, you just reminded me, I had this dear woman come in, and this was several years ago now, and I asked her how she was doing, and she said, well, I'm mad at you. I'm like, okay, why are you mad? And she said, because I came to you because I wasn't feeling good, and you told me to do this, and I did that. And then you told me to do something else, and I did that. And I said, yeah. I said, and were you feeling better? She goes, yeah. I said, well, why are you mad? She said, because I don't know who I am anymore because I don't have that story anymore. I don't have the, I'm depressed, I'm tired, I work too hard, I don't have any energy, I do everything for everyone else. And I'm like, well, hallelujah.
Right, but how overwhelming then? They're like, now I get to create this life. Even that can be a little daunting because we're so accustomed to the limitation.
Well, sometimes we don't even know that we can, like you say, feel as good as we feel.
Right.
And sometimes I wonder if people don't feel they deserve it.
Absolutely.
You know, and that brings in a whole topic on shame, which
We could go all day.
all day, girl. And that might be our next conversation because that is really the lowest frequency. And oh, I know what I was going to say. When it comes to power, frequency, vibration, some people stay stuck to stay safe, and staying stuck in anger feels powerful, right?
Oh yeah.
But when we realize that the greatest power of all is love, and when we can step into self-love and we can start loving others unconditionally and watch them from, as Pam Gregory, who I love, from the eagle's perch, she always says that we can watch in observance, and if we are healing ourselves, we can allow in observation to have other people heal. We can't fix other people, we can't change them, but when we incrementally change ourselves and we feel better, those around us can't help but change.
Well, it just provides this opportunity. You know, it's this opportunity for healing on so many levels, which is the goal.
The goal, for sure. So I have loved our conversation this morning.
Yeah, thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for bringing the egg to the Twin Cities,
Yeah.
for helping so many people, and for bringing blue, that's the egg, here at Beyond Wellness, into this space. So many people have benefited and continue to benefit. I'm just really grateful to you and for you.
Well, and right back at you. It's been such a wonderful journey to be able to collaborate and learn from each other. And it's all about love.
It is
Truly.
all about love.
We'd love to have you in it.
We would. And if you would love to share some ideas of what you'd like us to talk about next time, please drop it in the comments below. Thanks so much for joining us. So much fun.